Hello, warm welcome. You're tuned into Eye on Africa. I'm Rochelle Ferguson-Biar here with the top stories for you on the continent. The French President Emmanuel Macron unveils his foreign policy priorities with the African continent high on his agenda. We take you to Madagascar, where a unique ancestral custom known as the turning of the bones is taking place this month. It's a time when the dead are brought out of their tombs to be honoured. And the Guinea international midfielder Naby Keita is set to become the most expensive African player ever after signing with the Premier League giants, Liverpool. But first, Africa is the continent of the future. The words of the French President Emmanuel Macron as he unveiled his foreign policy this Tuesday, with Africa central to his agenda. In his first annual address to France's 200 ambassadors, Macron stressed his priorities are fighting terrorism and curbing illegal immigration. While the French president cited Libya and the Sahel as the hotbeds of terror on the African continent, saying security and development are key to tackling those issues. France 24's Clément Bonnereau reports.
It was a promise he'd made during the presidential campaign to reinvigorate relations between France and Africa. Emmanuel Macron has confirmed he will make development on the continent a key priority. Speaking before France's ambassadors in Paris, he announced the creation of a new presidential council for Africa.
Africa isn't only the continent of migration and crisis. It's the continent of the future. That's why we can't abandon it in the face of demographic, environmental and political challenges.
Macron says developing the continent is key to fight global terrorism and also tackle the ongoing migrant crisis. To help achieve this, the Presidential Council will bring together 11 civil society representatives, including a former football player from Benin, a Kenyan researcher and a French lawyer. Their role will be to advise the President on all issues affecting the African continent, with a particular focus on innovative sectors and civil society partnerships. Their first mission will be to help Macron prepare his first African policy speech, a speech he's expected to give in Ouagadougou in mid-November.
Well, for more on Macron's foreign policy announcement, Paul Melly is an associate fellow at Chatham House in London. Earlier, I asked him what needs to be done in order to tackle terror in the Sahel region.
Sahel contains some of the poorest countries in the world, facing huge development challenges. The environment's very fragile, drought is regular. There are very few livelihood opportunities apart from the traditional agriculture, livestock, trading activities, and they're increasingly under pressure and sometimes very insecure. So the social context in which the crisis in the Sahel has developed over the last few years is really quite serious. Of course, military action is important. Of course, there's a need to strengthen security structures, for example, with the new G5 force being formed by the Sahel countries to patrol border areas. But unless development issues are really tackled in a sustained long-term way, there are always going to be drivers for instability. There are always going to be things that pressure and cause discontent. And even at the very tiny margin, even if only a very few people get drawn into extremism as a result of that, without development, there's not much hope of tackling.
I mean, development was clearly key, as Macron said today. Curbing migration also came out of today's talk. A lot more, again, needs to happen to discourage people from leaving their homes, risking their lives to reach Europe's shores.
Yes, I mean, you can have tighter police action. You can hope that eventually Libya will become more stable and re-establish Coast Guard structures, and all that kind of thing. But you do fundamentally actually have to offer prospect of hope, prospect of opportunity to people who are growing up in West Africa and who are looking for opportunities. And obviously in today's world, modern media means that people are well aware of the opportunities available elsewhere. So you have to find ways of developing a greater choice of not just jobs, but opportunities for business, more effective agriculture, better food security, better education, all that kind of thing in the countries concerned. It's quite striking in the migration crisis that while some migrants are coming from countries that are in suffering civil war or crisis, many others come from some of the more successful economies in West Africa, but where there is still a very high level of deprivation and poverty, and particularly for young men, often a limited range of opportunities.
In other news, Libya's Coast Guard says they've rescued nearly 500 migrants at the sea west of the capital, Tripoli, this Tuesday. A spokesman said those rescued included people from sub-Saharan Africa, Egypt, Morocco and Tunisia. The rescue comes a day after African and European leaders met here in Paris to discuss curbing the flow of people attempting to reach Europe.
I was going to Italy with a boat when our engine got spoiled. So the pilot was trying to fix the engine. So before he fixed the engine again, the Libya rescue have already come close to us.
Next, we head to Madagascar, where a unique ancestral custom takes place every year in the months of August and September. The turning of the bones, known locally as the Famadiana, is a time when the dead are brought out of their tombs to be honoured and asked for blessings. Our correspondent, Gael Borgia, sent us this report.
Thousands of people gather around these tombs. Some have come from far away. The crowd scuffles and is difficult to contain. Yet the person they're struggling to touch at all costs died more than 2 centuries ago. Wrapped in this red fabric, Prince Andriansianka, known for his loyalty and humanistic values when he was alive, is today considered a saint with healing powers.
We bring our ancestors back into the world of the living. We put them on a bed and they come back to meet the living.
It's a unique opportunity to ask revered ancestors for their blessings.
We come to ask for blessings, to ask for good health and what we desire, like money.
The turning of the bones, a centuries-old tradition from Asia, is an expensive celebration. Families have to save for several years to raise thousands of euros in order to be able to feed an entire village.
It's a financial investment to come here. Some of these people walked on foot for hours and hours, rented cars. Many will sleep here for 4 days. There's a real need to recharge and to find the courage to move forward.
In Malagasy ancestral culture, it is believed that there is an alliance between life and death and that the deceased can pass messages on to God.
It's part of this ritual of order and harmony of the cosmos, the relationship between the living and the dead, because the dead direct and guide the lives of the living.
The turning of the bones is a rite that has to be carried out several times in one's lifetime to avoid the wrath of their ancestors.
And finally, the Guinea international midfielder Naby Keita is set to become the most expensive African player. This after signing with the Premier League giants Liverpool. To tell us more, our sports editor Ketavan Gorjestani joins me. Good to have you, Ketavan.
Hello.
What more do we know about this signing of Naby Keita?
Well, as you said, he'll be joining Liverpool, but it will be next summer, 2018, July 2018. And the reported deal, because the official number is not known, the reported deal is about 52 million euros, but that's the first asking price, if we can say. That's because it's a buyout clause. And then the German media, for example, is saying that it will be more closer to 70 million. That's because the Reds have apparently agreed to pay a premium in order to secure that transfer in a year's time. But whatever the exact number, 52, 70, it is still for him the most expensive African player in history. It's more than Egypt's Mohamed Salah, who joined Liverpool just earlier this summer. summer in June, and it's more than Senegal's Sadio Mane. Both of them were around 41 million euros. So clearly, Naby Keita is in a league of his own. Now, his career began in Guinea, in his hometown of Conakry. He started with FC Santoba. Before going to France, he tried his luck out. He played for one season with the French Ligue 2 side Istres, and then he joined Salzburg in 2014 before heading to Germany in 2016. But you have to remember that this career almost did not happen. About 4 years ago, Keita had no club, probably no future in football, rejected by several French clubs. And then another Guinea player, a former Guinea player, comes in, Bobo Baldé. He played for Celtic for about a decade in the year 2000s. And in 2013, Bobo Baldé, he organized a talent spotting tournament in Marseille. Keita was there. Istres saw him, picked him up, got him his first official contract, and the rest, as they say, is history.
So Keita expected at Anfield in July 2018. Then, Keita, thank you so much for the news on Naby Keita there. You are up to date. More international headlines coming up soon. Do stay tuned.